The movie begins with Sister Mary, troubled and desperate, praying to a painting of the Virgin Mary late at night. She attempts to escape the convent, packing her luggage and removing her habit. Sneaking into Mother Superior's room, she retrieves a massive set of keys. As floodlights illuminate the courtyard, she sprints toward the front gate. However, a group of eerie nuns dressed in black pursues her. Despite her efforts, she struggles to unlock the gate and squeeze through. Sister Mary manages to escape to the other side, but her pursuers injure her leg. They brutally snap it, thwarting her escape. She awakens in a coffin, dirt pouring through the slats as she's buried alive. Desperate and screaming for help, her match extinguishes. Meanwhile, we meet naive Sister Cecilia, who has arrived in Italy through an opportunity with a local church. The officers question her decision, but she insists it's her true calling. A deacon drives her to her new remote residence, a breathtaking yet slightly ominous compound. Sister Cecilia arrives at the convent, greeted warmly by Mother Superior in Italian. Isabel translates for her and reluctantly shows her to her room. Isabel explains the convent's history and its focus on helping elderly sisters transition to heaven. She also mentions forbidden catacombs beneath the building. Isabel isn't friendly, even calling Cecilia sweet. Despite an opportunity to leave without taking vows, Cecilia remains committed. In the restroom, she meets Gwen, who strikes up a casual conversation. Cecilia hails from Michigan and previously worked in a parish. Regrettably, the place closed down due to low attendance, which deeply affected Cecilia. The church had been her sanctuary, and she felt lost without it. However, Father Tedici extended an opportunity to her, which brought some solace. Gwen sarcastically remarks that he has a knack for finding those who are broken. It wasn't her intention to offend Cecilia, but she believes that everyone here is either mentally unstable or a runaway. Curious, Cecilia asks which category she falls into, and Gwen responds, both. The time arrives for Cecilia's vows ceremony, and everyone stands attentively as she walks down the aisle in an elegant outfit. She has the chance to meet the Cardinal and Sal in person, and they both express their delight at her presence. Cecilia is given a rosary and asked to embrace the important principles of a nun: poverty, chastity, and obedience. Without hesitation, she agrees and seals the commitment by kissing the Cardinal's ring. A celebratory dinner takes place at a table in the shape of a cross, where she engages in a conversation with Sal. Sister Cecilia hasn't quite felt at home, but another resident reassures her. He too struggled initially and transitioned from a science career. God guided him here. Cecilia shares a life-changing moment from her childhood, falling into a frozen river and technically dying for 7 minutes. She believes her survival has a greater purpose, though uncertain what it is. Cecilia hears ominous music coming from the chapel, where she finds a person lying on the ground in a crucifixion pose, wearing a red mask. Mother Superior startles Cecilia, claiming they must suffer in Jesus' name. Cecilia becomes disoriented and passes out. She wakes up in a confession booth and tells the unseen priest she thinks she fainted from drinking too much. The priest mysteriously disappears. Cecilia is then suddenly on a gurney, surrounded by people in red masks, who hold her down and force something into her mouth. Cecilia wakes up in her room after being stabbed, but sees a mysterious figure vanish when she turns on the lamp. The girls are gathered by Mother Superior, who assigns them chores, pairing Gwen with the reserved Isabel. Isabel shows the girls tasks like caring for patients, doing laundry, and slaughtering chickens. Cecilia begins to adapt to life at the convent, as shown through a montage set to music. While doing laundry, Cecilia notices Isabel giving her usual glare, before disappearing among the drying sheets. Later, in bed, Cecilia is jolted awake by an unsettling silence and sees scissors ominously rising behind her in the shadows. Startled, she wakes up to find a nun standing there, wielding the scissors and cutting at her. The nun snatches a lock of Cecilia's hair, muttering words of adoration. Cecilia assumes it's just a medical issue. She tucks her back into bed. However, as Cecilia covers her, the nun's feet stick out, revealing unusual cross-shaped marks branded on her soles. She discusses this discovery with Gwen later, and they both agree that this place is not what they had imagined. Despite the strange occurrences, Cecilia finds solace in the fact that it's still better than where she came from, as they have everything they need here. Laughing, she remarks that life is cruel, and that only a man could be responsible. Suddenly, Cecilia feels nauseous and vomits. Concerned, they call for a doctor to examine her, and Cecilia impatiently waits for the results. While waiting, she notices someone outside, lost in thought among the laundry lines, but her attention is abruptly diverted when a bird crashes into the window with a loud and bloody thump. As the bird twitches in its final moments, the mother calls out to Cecilia, She undergoes intense questioning by the three leaders, who begin by reminding her of her vows. Cecilia asserts that she has faithfully adhered to them and denies any involvement in sexual activities. However, unbeknownst to her, it is evident to us that she is pregnant. Interestingly enough, she remains a medical virgin, adding to the miraculous nature of her situation. An ultrasound confirms her pregnancy, leaving her in shock. While others perceive it as a divine miracle, she doesn't appear pleased by the news. She is paraded out in a fancy dress, tears streaming down her face, while the entire congregation sings in celebration. Gwen seems upset as well, but Isabel maintains her usual cold and lifeless gaze. Cecilia's pregnancy progresses, causing her to experience morning sickness and lose a tooth. The other girls now treat Cecilia like royalty, waiting on her hand and foot. Gwen and the others resent Cecilia's special treatment, with Isabel going so far as to try to drown Cecilia in the bath. Cecilia fights back, biting Isabel's wrist before the others intervene and pull Isabel away. After the attempted drowning, the staff assures Cecilia that the baby is okay. However, Cecilia expresses concerns about her safety. Given Isabel's violent actions, the staff dismiss it as a result of Isabel's mental illness and insist that Cecilia needs to stay at the convent for her protection, rather than going to a hospital. Feeling trapped, Cecilia glumly walks through the corridors. On the second floor, Cecilia spots the same red-masked nuns. Suddenly, Isabel falls from the roof, plunging to her death. At Isabel's funeral, Gwen loses her composure and urges Cecilia to face the reality of this place, questioning her trust in what is growing inside her. Cecilia tries to suggest that God may be involved, but Gwen interrupts, declaring that he has no connection to this situation. Sal inquires about the situation, and Gwen becomes defensive, addressing the crowd. She reveals that Cecilia is pregnant, and with Isabel's death, something suspicious is happening here. Gwen accuses the leaders of the convent of being deceitful, but she is forcefully removed from the scene. Unable to sleep, Cecilia lies in bed, consumed by thoughts and emotions. Suddenly, the chain on a painting snaps, and she discovers a hidden message left by the room's previous occupant, Mary. The message contains a Bible verse warning about Satan disguising himself as an angel of light, suggesting that this is precisely what is happening in their current situation. She decides to investigate Gwen's room, but finds it empty. While walking through the hallway, she notices another flickering candle. Curiosity leads her to open the door to their meeting room. Using a letter opener, she unlocks a drawer and retrieves her file. The file contains extensive research about her, including articles detailing her past adventures, and even her DNA records. As she examines the file, she is interrupted by the sound of a creaking door and distant voices. Driven by curiosity, she opens another door and is met with the alarming sound of metal scraping and anguished wailing. She follows the sound and peeks through a keyhole, witnessing the red masked group restraining Gwen in a chair. In a horrifying act of punishment for Gwen's outspokenness, they proceed to cut out her tongue. As she moves backward, she unintentionally bumps into another woman, who quickly covers her mouth and urges her to be quiet. The woman reveals a small doll made of hair, claiming it to be blessed. Cecilia pleads for assistance, expressing the need to escape. "We have to leave," she implores, but the nun looks at her with a stern gaze, letting her down. "We will never leave here," the nun declares. Driven by desperation, Cecilia contemplates a drastic action to escape her captors within the Christian community. The commotion awakens Mother, and the others rush to Cecilia's room, discovering a distressing scene of blood in her baby's area. They argue about taking her to the hospital, while Cecilia moans about her fear of dying. Left with no alternative, they place her in a car, with Mama fervently praying for her survival. As they travel, they discuss contingency plans if she dies. However, their ruse unravels when Mama discovers a feather among the bloody sheets and a hidden dead chicken under the bed. She calls Sal to share the news, and he sternly commands them to stop the car. The girl attempts to escape into the vast countryside, but is soon recaptured by the father. They ruthlessly strip her and scrub her aggressively. Mama sneers, claiming God won't forgive her, and delivers a slap. They secure her to a wheelchair, assuring her safety. When she demands answers, he unveils his bizarre pseudo-scientific plan. To him, a rusty nail holds different meanings. Some see it as mere metal, while others view it as proof of Jesus' sacrifice. He reveals blood and bone fragments on the spike. In essence, Sal believes they've cracked the genetic code for resurrection. Cecilia's DNA matches their criteria, making her their chosen vessel. He takes her to the forbidden catacombs, where his makeshift genetic lab resides. Failed experiments fill jars, representing 2 decades of trial and error. Sal grumbles for divine knowledge of a perfect vessel, but Cecilia fears she might harbor one of those failures. Sal clarifies that she carries their first success. His departure from genetics was due to unsavory methods. Fortunately, the church recognized the salvation potential of a simple procedure. Despite accusations of playing God, Sal persists, believing it's his calling. He tells Cecilia that her purpose lies here. To prevent further escape attempts, they brand her with cross marks like the other lady. Locked in a room, she pleads for release. As her 3rd trimester approaches, another confession awaits. Cecilia is more interested in the plan details. Outside, a big ceremony unfolds as the group gathers with candles, singing Ave Maria. Cecilia lies in bed, miserable, feeling the baby wriggle under her skin. The dog informs her that only a few days remain. While Mama fusses over the baby, Cecilia seizes a heavy cross and brutally attacks her, obliterating her face. Struggling to her feet, Cecilia's water breaks, signaling the imminent arrival of the baby. The cardinal, overseeing the group, becomes her target. She ambushes him, choking him with her rosary. Despite his struggle, the beads pierce his flesh, snapping his neck. Cecilia, enduring pregnancy pains, presses on, seizing the Jesus spike. Returning to the lab, she douses equipment and specimens with highly flammable ethanol. Confronting Sal, she ignites a flame, halting him. He argues that her sacrifice won't solve anything. They'll merely find another vessel. In a desperate bid to end the ordeal, Cecilia faces off against Sal. She strikes him with a beaker, hobbling away. Locking him in a room, she ignites ethanol, engulfing the area in flames. Sal screams as she watches. However, he breaks free, pursuing her deeper into the dark catacombs. Cecilia, disoriented, tries to hide, shutting off her flashlight. As moments pass, Sal's light inches closer, and he growls her name. Cecilia waits, then discovers Gwen's lifeless body. She presses forward, spotting daylight ahead. Running as fast as she can, she climbs toward the tunnel exit, but just as she's about to escape, Sal drags her back down. In a desperate struggle, he performs a makeshift C-section, tearing open her shirt and using a scalpel. Cecilia fights back, driving the Jesus spike through his neck until he bleeds out. Finally, she emerges into the vast wilderness, collapsing to her knees, screaming. The impending birth is imminent. In her desperate struggle, she pushes and yowls. The sound of fluid sloshing accompanies the baby's arrival onto the earth. Although we don't witness its appearance, her reaction suggests it's something horrifying. She gnaws off the umbilical cord, bewildered about what to do next. With a big rock in hand, she lifts it high, unleashing a guttural screech as she obliterates her newborn. Its cries cease, and the scene concludes. And with that, the movie ends. I hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen and don't forget to subscribe for amazing videos. See you in the next one.